Lindstrom Family Productions presents, or presents as the case may be, Australian Holiday 1977. This is a big show as the entire family, who are the starring people, Diane, Ray, Barry, and Karen, will be going to Australia. First stop is Fiji on our fantastic voyage. Of course, we left Phoenix, we flew to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii to Fiji, where we stayed at a place called the Fijian on our way to Australia. The reason we're going to Australia is because, well, we started the oil painting sales in hotel ballrooms throughout the nation, and we did them through all kinds of places, all kinds of cities. We would have a 3-day sale on the weekends in places all over the United States. We did Canada, and then we decided to go down and do Australia. So that's where we went. And I had to go down there to produce TV commercials and decided to take the whole family with me. There's Diane walking along the beach in Fiji. So this is the first part of our big trip down to Australia. We got a big adventure here at the Fijian Resort. A lot of swimming, just great weather there. There's Karen and Barry, my 2 kids, having a good time in the water. Something very, very unusual happened while we were there. Diane and I, we were walking down the beach one night, and I saw what looked like a body in the water. And I stopped, and I looked closer, and sure enough, it was a body just laying there, and I discovered it was a man. And so he was kind of halfway buried into the surf, and I pulled him out, and he was just stiff as a board, so obviously he was dead. Well, I told Diane, I said, why don't you run down to the hotel and tell him that we found a dead body, and I'll just kind of wait here with him. So she did, and we discovered it was a Japanese tourist who had committed suicide the previous day. Well, that was a little spooky, finding a dead body on our trip, but that was something that happened here in Fiji. Looks like we're all having a good time, but odd things can happen no matter where you go. We had done the oil painting sales all over the United States, and so we felt it was time that we did some in a foreign country, so we took the kids with us, and they would follow us, and then they would help us do the oil paintings. They'd help set up and do pricing and all kinds of stuff like that. I always thought it was a good experience for the kids. Now, this is 1977. Karen was born in 68, and there she is right there. She was born in 68, so she was about 9 years old, and Barry was 11. And this was just a real fine resort, no kidding. Just had a great time while we were there. Beautiful weather, and a beautiful place to be. Fiji. Fiji, way down in the South Pacific. Oh my gosh, actually I handed off the camera and let somebody take a picture of me. That's amazing. I'm Ray Lindstrom, and this is another of my series of family home movies. I took home movies from the time I was 15 until 1980, so we've got another few years to go. Beautiful resort, the Fijian, but I think it's about time that we got on the airplane and made our second lap of the trip, where we had to actually do some business. Oh, that was a nice place. So there we are. We're back on the airplane, the big 747, as we travel to Australia. And here we are, Sydney, where we see a taxi and a vat of Kentucky Fried Chicken. I want to thank my daughter for doing a fine job on the titles on this particular movie. And here we are flying into Sydney. There's Sydney Harbor down there. Had a real great adventure in Sydney, Australia. We took a trip later on to Canberra. We went from Sydney to Canberra and back, and had some really fine adventures there, overlooking the city. And this is a long, long trip to go down there. But there we were. See the red roofs of the houses, and before you know it, there we are at the Sydney Airport. See a lot of Qantas planes over there. I think that probably we were on a Qantas jet. And looking out over the city from our room at the hotel we stayed at, Noah's Northside Gardens, where, because it was For business, of course, we had a nice big suite, and it was great. The only thing I didn't like about Sydney was having to drive on the left-hand side of the road. That was kind of spooky, especially when you made a turn. You had to remember what lane you wanted to end up in. There's the beautiful Sydney Harbor, and in the Sydney Harbor are all kinds of amazing things. Now we went to the Zoological Park and Aquarium. This is their zoo. We saw all kinds of animals that are especially indigenous to Australia, and they have a lot of odd ones there, that's for sure. It's kind of an, is that a kiwi? I'm not sure. Kind of a ostrichy type thing. Be careful, Karen. I'm going to bite you. Be careful, Diane. It's going to bite you. Yeah. Boy, they like to bite, too. You better be careful. Aha. Oh, there's Karen. Look at those beautiful teeth she's got. Later on, something's going to happen to those teeth while we're in Australia. Well, they had sheep, and of course they have a lot of sheep down there. And flamingos. My son Barry over there. And turtles. I don't even know why I have to describe all these things to people watching, because it's pretty obvious what they are. Sydney, Australia was an interesting place. You know, I worked through an advertising agency there. Oh, there's the Harbour Bridge. Worked with an advertising agency there, Mar Shannon. And they were helping us buy advertising. Oh, there's the beautiful Sydney Opera House. And I noticed that the people in Australia did not exactly have the same kind of work ethic that we have in the United States. I noticed that nobody would get into work until about 10 o'clock, and then they'd leave at 1, and we'd never see them for the rest of the day. They had a lunch, and then they went out drinking, and they had a very, very short work day, I must say. But they did get the job done. And I was able to go down to the TV stations and make all my TV commercials, which, by the way, were in beautiful color, because they had high-definition television back in those days, which was very unusual. You know, we had the old, I think it's 525-line picture, and it really wasn't very good. Of course, now we have all high-def, but in those days they had a much better resolution on their television than we did, and they had also a different system. So I had to bring a lot of elements for my TV commercials to Australia to do, but I had to have them transferred to their special VCR format, which was a little bit different than we have, because I still wanted to use pictures of, I had a lot of stock footage of people enjoying themselves at art sales, And of course we had, are we still? I think we're out at Skippy Park now. This is another place in Sydney where they have a lot of animals. The kids enjoyed it. Did a lot of family type things while we were there. Yep, there's Karen. Still got her front teeth right there. Got kangaroos jumping all over the place. It's called Skippy Park because there was a TV show that they did in the 1950s and 60s that all the kids watched, and there was a famous kangaroo down there called Skippy. And thus the name for this park was Skippy Park. But anyway, I'm telling you about the TV commercial that I went down to produce, and of course, gosh, they were just exactly like the TV commercials that I used to do in the United States, It's the greatest art sale in the history of Australia this Saturday and Sunday at Noah's Northside Gardens in Sydney. 2 big days only. Thousands of oil paintings brought here to be sold out at a discount. Wow, hurry up and save. As part of our buy or die advertising techniques. Oh, look at that. There's a koala bear up in the tree. I don't think they're actually bears, but they call them that. Marsupials of some type. And had a lot of those all over the place there, that's for sure. Okay, so we rented a car. Now we're going out in the countryside to see what's available. What's out there? What are we going to see? And like I said, here we are driving on the left-hand side, which was not a favorite hobby of mine. There's Diane. We're overlooking some fine area there. We're up in the hills, kind of overlooking Sydney. And a lot of rocks and watery places. Great for kids. They, just love to go out there and have a good time. Yep, I'm not exactly sure what we're doing here. Oh, I guess we're out having a picnic outside of Sydney right there. I think this was in about April of 1977, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Sydney, Australia, down under. Great place to visit. I went back there about 30 years later, and boy, it had really changed a lot. It had really gotten really big, really big. Now, one of the things we had to do was take a nice trip over to the Opera House, the Sydney Opera House, and had a big viewing of that, which is just an architectural delight. And we also took a tour through that beautiful facility, one of the most famous facilities or tourist attractions in the entire world. I was trying to think of what were the most popular, what do you suppose are the most popular tourist sites in the entire world? And I thought, well, I suppose the Eiffel Tower would be one of them. Anything that sticks up in the air, people like, you know, Sydney Opera House, Eiffel Tower, London Bridge, Big Ben, Taj Mahal, perhaps the Golden Gate Bridge. Yep, saw a lot of those unusual Australian animals while we're there. And there is a kangaroo to pet. Yes. Oh, we love those furry animals, don't we? We sure do. They are just great. Well, we're about getting ready now to go to Canberra, which is where we're having our first art sale. And so we flew to Canberra, which is that's the capital of the country. It was kind of a made-up capital because there was no city there before it became the capital. And so it's a fairly new place. Got a lot of, oh boy, that was the Ray Lindstrom with his comb over. My goodness. See, I still had a little bit of hair up on top there, but that didn't last for too long, I'm afraid to say. Yeah, I like to pet that nice little kangaroo there. Oh yeah, nothing like a whole family petting a kangaroo. Anyway, we went to Canberra, and that was the capital. That was our first big sale, so we had television advertising, and we went along and we helped, and we marked paintings and got them set up and everything, and just had a really great time. Now where we are here, who knows? Someplace where the kids could be on the trampoline. Oh, I tell you, they're jumping for joy. We're just having a great time. Nothing like a movie camera and people jumping on trampolines. An absolute essential part of any home movie. That's good. Keep on jumping there, kids. I think I have 80 rolls of film left to go. A lot of unusual animals there. Now, when are we going to Canberra? Come on. Should have some films of Canberra pretty soon. Okay, I think we're at some zoo. I think we set a record for the number of zoos we went to while we were there. I think we were there for quite a long time. Finally, look at there. There's the sign that says, we're going to Canberra. And like I said, there it is. It's a big new city, about, 100 miles from Sydney? 100, 200 miles, something like that. Big brand new place, and that's where we had our first oil painting sale. So you can see they have modern highways and all that sort of thing. And now we're going to go out and we're going to have a little snack out on a picnic table. We're taking a little break from our work. You know, what I should have done is I should have taken some pictures of us out there, you know, actually performing at the art sale, watching the people come in, the work we had to do. But these are all like vacation type photos. So we're just taking a little break here. And, you know, all of a sudden, there was an air traffic controller strike in Australia. And so there was we couldn't get an airplane back to Sydney. And of course, this concerned me because we were just about getting ready to, after we go back from Canberra to Sydney, then what we had to do is we had to go from Sydney back to the United States. Well, if you can't get off of Australia, what do? You know, it's the only way you can do it. Well, from Canberra to Sydney, we were okay because we're going to take the train. So that's all right. But it's the rest of the trip we have a little concern about. Anyway, okay, so we're going to hop on the train back to Sydney, and that's what we're going to do. So we say goodbye to Canberra, the capital of Australia. And it's back to Sydney, isn't it? Yes, it is. And what do we get on? When we go back to Sydney, we get on a train, as you can see by the fine title work there done by my daughter. There's a little train there. So we get back on the train. You can see they have nothing but the most modern facilities and the most modern modes of transportation. And that was the kind of train we were on. So it's one of those old steam engines. We kind of stopped using those in the United States, but apparently they're still using them down in Australia. And there was the coach we were in, Karen and Diane, and there's Barry. We're looking out the windows, and it was really amazing because we saw the kangaroos jumping all over the place there. It was really amazing. Well, we got down there, and then I have a morose daughter there because when we left the train station that day, Karen, chaos as strike closes the airports. Look there's the newspaper. We can't see Karen's mouth because she turned around and bumped right into a solid steel pole and broke off her front 2 teeth. So she didn't have her teeth. So she left Australia with her teeth missing. So that's why you don't see any more close-ups of Karen. So we stayed a few days at Noah's Northside Gardens, and then they let us have a few flights back to the United States. And they were mercy flights for people who were there visiting with families. So there were like 4 flights that got out, and that was it. And then what a great adventure we had in Australia. Wow, the whole family. The end. Thanks for watching.